Chris Lee and Blayne Gilmer of Southeastern 14 here to preview Alabama's road trip to Starkville to face Mississippi State. You can catch that on ESPN at 8 Central Saturday night. Blayne, I think both teams have to be pretty happy about what they saw over the weekend. Alabama scoring a huge win over Ole Miss at home. And Mississippi State, although not winning a game in South Carolina, played pretty well, found its offense again, certainly found its passing game again. And I think left this Saturday feeling better than it did a Saturday ago when it got manhandled by LSU and was just completely uncompetitive.
Vintage Will Rogers was on display in Columbia, South Carolina. 487 yards. Got Tulu Griffin going in that game a little bit. He had a monstrous game. They just couldn't get enough stops against that South Carolina passing game. And then Alabama, like you said, people like to talk about Jalen Milroe, and they like to talk about his shortcomings, and sometimes he stares down receivers and things like that. Had one atrocious interception, just awful in the end zone there, but he made enough plays to help Alabama win a game against what I still think is a good Ole Miss team. And that defense played really well. So I'm looking forward to getting into this matchup. One that I thought Vegas would see maybe even a little bit more lopsided coming into it, but this is within striking distance there.
Yeah, and we'll give the lines later, talk about that, talk about some computer projections and things like that. But first of all, let's talk about when Alabama's got the ball. Jalen Milroe reinstated as the starting quarterback. This season, Alabama scoring 30.3 a game, State giving up 27.8. Alabama running at 57% of the time, 5.2 per carry when it does, or per rushing play, that is. State giving up 4.2. Only 6.4 yards per passing play. That's the worst for Alabama, and I don't even know how long. State giving up 7.9 per passing play. That's not great. Alabama turning it over on 1.6% of snaps. State forcing turnovers 2.6% of snaps. I think Alabama, what it's going to want to do is establish that running game, get Milroe going. You saw a little bit more consistency in that rushing game on Saturday. State's defense against the run has been okay, not great, but okay. How do you see this one when Alabama's got the ball, Blayne?
Yeah, when Alabama has the ball, I think you're looking at a little bit. We did see going into that Ole Miss game, we questioned Chris, hey, what is going to be the difference this time with Milroe? How is Alabama going to change their game plan a little bit? And they went a little bit more 12 personnel. They got Dupree and Niblack in there at the same time. They got Robbie Oots in there blocking, got really going downhill. They did more of a duo scheme than really a full zone scheme. So they were getting a lot of double teams at the point of attack. They used some more quarterback design runs with Jalen Milroe, and then they were able to make plays down the field. Milroe, if there's one thing you can't knock him on, it's his arm strength. I mean, he can let it go, and those receivers, he just gave them a chance to make plays. So I think you're going to see, like you said, an Alabama team that's looking really to just make that their identity. Run the football, be physical, take the shots when they're there. And they do struggle in the red zone, though, Chris. One time I think they started out on Ole Miss's 2-yard line after that block punt, and they ended up on the 24 or something like that to kick a field goal. They went 22 yards backwards in the red zone. Not something that you want to do. Seth McClellan continues to have bad snaps, at least 1-2 a game. So they got to get that figured out. But I think on that side of the ball for Alabama, that's what you're looking at. And then Mississippi State, we know they have talented linebackers and Jet Johnson and Nate Watson, but my goodness, I mean, South Carolina rushed for 144 yards, and they had not rushed for anything close to that all year. So you've got to be really concerned about Mississippi State's ability to stop the run against Alabama.
All right, when State's got the ball, again, it's just been a completely different last couple of games. State finally, I guess, not saying they responded to criticism, but certainly, I guess Zach Arnett saw the same stuff that everybody else did. It said, you got this really good, experienced quarterback who doesn't make a lot of mistakes. You got Tulu Griffin. What are you doing going away from the foundation of this team in terms of the way that Mike Leach built it? They put on a show in the air in Columbia. And Alabama, on the other hand, though, Blayne, looked more like the vintage Alabama defenses we've seen in the past and giving up 10 points to Ole Miss. Stats through a few games so far have been outstanding. And remember, Alabama's played a tougher schedule than most, having faced Texas and Ole Miss. Bama giving up 13.5 points a game, State scoring 30.8. On running plays, Alabama allowing 3.9 yards per rushing play. Mississippi State is getting 5.6 yards per rushing play, running at 45% of the time. Pass defense, Alabama's been excellent statistically, 4.9 per throw. State averaging 6.9 per throw. Alabama forcing turnovers at a 2.9% rate. State has done a pretty good job of not turning it over, which has been a lot of the case of Will Rogers' career. He's done a good job with ball security, 1.2% turnover rate. It'd be interesting to see. Alabama in past years has just kind of had the answers for whatever State has wanted to do offensively, and I really like the way that defense looked in shutting down Ole Miss.
I think the biggest thing you saw for Alabama is that Terrion Arnold played a tremendous ball game, and that has been kind of the Achilles heel there of the last year with Tennessee, a couple other games. It's been, hey, we know we can't go with Kool-Aid McKinstry. We're going to go try to pick on Terrion Arnold, and he's been subject to it a few times in the past, but he really stepped up, had a great game. Jihad Campbell stepped up when Deontay Lawson went down with an injury. I'm not sure, as we are recording these on Saturday night, Chris, I'm not sure what the status of Deontay Lawson is, so we'll have to keep an eye on that. Saban will have his press conference tomorrow as we're recording this, like I said, on Sunday night. So we'll be subject to that, but that secondary is playing so well right now with Caleb Downs back there adding what he has added to it. Malachi Moore, they got Jalen Key that's back with them now, and of course Arnold and McKinstry. So it is playing really, really well. They get a lot of pressure up front. So the question is going to be, does Terrion Arnold play that kind of game like he did against Ole Miss, or is he going to have, Tulu Griffin, Justin Robinson, some of those guys? Mississippi State is going to take their shots and try to test him, because you got to test somebody. So we'll see if he holds up on it on that end. But I think you're going to see Alabama be able to get a lot of pressure on Will Rogers, and I think that's going to be the problem. And I think they'll really shut down the run game of Mississippi State. So got to be able to be more balanced. We talked about balance, wanting to get Mississippi State to pass more. Well, they passed more, Chris, but they couldn't run the ball against South Carolina. So it's been who knows what's happening with that offense.
All right, we always go over discipline and special teams. Special teams rankings according to SP Plus. Alabama 20, Mississippi State 18, so not really a lot of difference. Penalties, Bama getting penalized 51 yards a game, State 49. Alabama was a very heavily penalized team a year ago. So one encouraging thing that Nick Saban has done this year is to bring that number down, although those cowbells in Starkville have given many a team a fit in terms of calling signals and hearing yourself think. So there's that. All right, let's get picks in and figure out what kind of game this is going to be. The odds makers have this as Alabama by 14.5 with an over-under of 48.5. As we do this Sunday night, that makes for a predicted final of 32-17 Alabama. FPI has Alabama by 16. SP Plus has it at 15. Sagarin has it at 17. So everybody right here in that 14.5 to 17 point range. Blayne, Alabama has just dominated this matchup and made some pretty good State offenses look kind of silly. I'm going to go with the Nick Saban has got their number card here, even though it's on the road. What do you think?
Yeah, logic would tell you that, right, Chris? But, I think this 2023 football season is telling us everything you think just take it and throw it out the window, because we don't know. One thing we don't know about it is Milroe's first start on the road this year. Remember, he went on the road to Texas A&M last year, did not do well in that road environment. So we'll see how he does road start this year. But I think Alabama is just going to be way better on the lines of scrimmage. I think they're going to be basically almost impossible for Mississippi State to stop the run, or they're going to have to sell out, put 7-8 men in the box and just hope what they can do to stop the chunk plays from Milroe. So I think maybe the environment helps out a little bit early on Mississippi State, but I do think Alabama pulls away by early third quarter in this one at the latest and ends up covering that spread.
We are previewing every single SEC football game involving FBS teams this season. Best way to get those, hit that subscribe button. If you hit the like button, that also helps our analytics, so please do that. For Blayne Gilmer, I'm Chris Lee. We are Southeastern 14. We'll see you again soon with more SEC football content.